Welcome, I'm your host, Alex Lewis, and this week on Taiwan Talk, we speak to David Chang. David currently mainly focuses his energies on WordCore, the translation company he started a few years ago, and Crossroads. Crossroads is an experimental cross-lingual multimedia platform actively cultivating and connecting the diverse communities of Taiwan. Their mission is to elevate understanding, reach, and recognition of Taiwan around the world. They're basically looking to spark an internationalization movement here in Taiwan. The project is currently in its beta stage as David grows it out. And it's kind of hard to conceptualize what Crossroads is from that description. So to get a full understanding of what Crossroads is aiming to become, it's helpful to get to know David himself. And that's where we're going to start. This is some interesting shit. So, start over. So you went to CIS, and then you went to Santa Barbara, and then you went to LA, and then you went to New York.
Yes, after Santa Barbara, in Santa Barbara, I was majoring under law and society, which perked my interest in, of course, law and society.
Right.
And then I went to work for a labor law firm in LA, Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And that got my interest in politics and how law is even created. And it just so happened I was actually looking to move to New York because the Los Angeles lifestyle felt like I was retiring way too early.
Really? That's how you feel? I love that. I love that lifestyle.
Nice. It's too nice.
It's too nice. Yeah, it's too comfortable, you would say. It's too comfortable. Yeah. That's what people say about Taiwan, actually.
Taiwan is kind of this weird border. Mm-hmm. You can play it very slow here, but there's also parts of it where it goes really fast.
What parts are those?
Where you're trying to run your business and trying to survive. And
fair enough. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
But it's great because there's always things happening. We're in LA. Yeah, everything's like really far away. You have to drive everywhere spread out. The weather is so nice. You just kind of want to sit back in your backyard and just do nothing. Right.
But you're here now, and you just started Crossroads.
Crossroads, correct.
It's the beta version right now.
It's the beta version. Okay, we're still doing some testing. So actually, this ties into why I'm actually here in Taiwan.
Okay.
Because I did work in the political scene in New York. I was working for a state senator. His district covered a big chunk of Manhattan. And I also worked on the Hillary Clinton campaign for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Just helped out a little bit.
Right.
Also worked in some social programs in Newark, New Jersey, trying to help ex-offenders come out of jail, out of probation, and help them to retrain and get them back into society so they don't just go back into a life of crime. And that would actually
break the cycle.
Break the cycle of recidivism, correct.
Right.
And that actually got officially adopted by the city of Newark, at least when I left. So I decided, hey, turn my attentions to Taiwan.
Was that your plan, like always long term, to come back to Taiwan?
Not really. I think it was just a moment of I would still come back every year because my parents are here. I still have a lot of extended family here, the usual story. And there's something about Taiwan that just kept pulling me back. And it's the sense of lifestyle or just the different type of feel to it that draws people here. And I'm not just talking about people like us who have family here. I think people we call foreigners are the same thing. There's something about Taiwan that attracts them here that they just want to settle and just actually invest here. But knowing that, I always knew that, hey, since I do have some political background in the States, I always wondered how I can make the connection between the two dots because I know Taiwan also needs some help in that area. Now it's getting stronger in some sense. But ultimately, my goal, my idea was what's the most basic element that bonds us all? Language. And I know chronically Taiwan has always had an issue with global outreach, communication, marketing to the rest of the world, branding itself.
Right.
A lot of that is also not just language issues or cultural issues, but also political. There's a lot of factors involved in why this is.
Yeah. So one theory, my dad has a theory about this, is because it's very provincial. So you can't really to brand yourself, you kind of need a united front and take a step forward, right?
True.
At the same time,
totally true.
In the right direction or in the same direction. Totally. So then it's very provincial. He thinks that, Kaohsiung thinks this, or like Jiayi and, Taipei. Everybody has their own view of what makes Taiwan, great or anything, and like how they want to present Taiwan. So that's one of his reasons.
I completely agree. I think one of the main issues facing Taiwan is we don't have a common national identity. We're still trying to figure that out right now. There's still I hate to say it, divisive politics, and a lot of it is tied with identity. It's irrevocable. It's inseparable right now, and that is causing a fractured front, which Taiwan, I don't believe, has time or the luxury of that for now. I believe in Taiwan. I love Taiwan. I love for all for all that makes Taiwan all it is. But given the political circumstances, we definitely need to start redefining what Taiwan is.
Right.
What does it mean to be Taiwanese?
And you chose language.
I chose language. I chose language, and of course, with technology these days, how do you build a system that tries to at least solve the language issue, cross the language barrier, at least more in a more efficient and effective way? And that's why my company WorkCorp was born. About 5 years ago, I finally officially registered my company, and we started a platform, which basically not just does Chinese to English, but also English to Chinese, of course, Japanese, Russian, Spanish, and it's kind of just grew and grew from there. We not only did this by linking individual translators, but also linking to a translation service, a local translation service in Tokyo, a translation service in St. Petersburg, because there's some language that we cannot manage ourselves.
Right.
So, hey, leave it to the experts who already know this, and might as well have an access way to get into their market as well.
Right.
We can provide Chinese service. That's our specialty. So it's these international relations, kind of you develop these, and it's kind of an interesting way in the 21st century of how to work an internet business. But ultimately, that was a more passive way of doing translation. And always the question was, how do you use translation in a more active way? Because right now, with WorkCorp, businesses, they have translation needs. They upload it in our platform. They get a quote. They put the order in. They get the translation back. They pay, and then it's done until they have the next need. But ultimately, if we have that human resource network, if we have the technology, how do we integrate all that to create a platform that actually actively crosses language barriers so that helping Taiwanese people could reach further markets, international markets, and inbound as well. If there's foreign entrepreneurs or foreign businesses or foreign media wanting to know more about what Taiwan's all about, hey, it's an inbound method also.
Right. So how do you translate, I guess, just the life and society here in Taiwan and Taiwan for other people,
Correct.
It seems. Okay. So then that brought Crossroads along.
Yes.
Tell me how that, not how it came to be, but how you kind of got it off the ground.
So about a year ago, I don't know how this happened, but I just wrote up a proposal. And it was already actually in the back of my mind because I actually had tried to get a similar idea off the ground 2 years ago. It was called ModMatch, Model Majority. It was kind of the prototype of Crossroads. And the idea was, okay, how to create a platform allowing Taiwanese businesses to go on, get their stuff translated to any language. We will use a lot of different social media avenues to distribute their materials. They will get analytics showing how many people are, from what countries are reading their stuff, are going to their online stores, are jumping to the links that they set.
Right.
Serving as a very good global market intelligence tool.
Yeah.
To actually do that first initial outreach. Overall, we did get some connections and we did get some momentum going. But overall, there was kind of an interesting lesson from this, is that a lot of Taiwanese businesses, especially small, medium-sized businesses, they have kind of on the tip of their tongue, they do like to say they want to go international. But when it actually comes to the execution part of it, it is intimidating. And rightfully so, understandably so. How do you communicate with an audience you don't understand, that you really haven't had too much experience with, and to we're a very humble culture here. To be able to boast loudly about your product to another country, it's 还是有点不安了. And I completely understand. So getting people from point A to point B to actually start actively promoting their materials or products or services on ModMatch was a big step. So I rewrote that and decided, especially after the 2016 election, and during that time, I actually received an email from a nonprofit organization called Avaz, and they had this really cool idea. They wanted to, of course, their whole goal was to actually get as many voters registered as possible. So what they did was they basically broke down the voter registration process into a few steps. Very nice, easy interface. Simplify everything. Once you just input a few fields, they will automatically fill out the forms for you. They even postmark it for you. All you have to do is print it out. They even print out the envelope for you. You just put it to your post office, and there you go. And knowing Taiwan, we are always talking about, hey, how do we get more foreign investment or foreign entrepreneurs here to start businesses and to invest in Taiwan? But even personally, from my own personal experiences, dealing with immigration, dealing with government agencies, I think there is a difference in the way we use internet, I guess.
Disconnect, maybe.
Disconnect. That's the word I'm looking for. But if you go on the Immigration Bureau, if you look at the English content, if you look at their interfaces, they could use a bit of help. They could use a bit of, make better user-friendly interfaces, clear English, and there is very obviously some language issues involved here, which does cause a lot of confusion for the foreign community already here. So our first step was, hey, if we can help along with that process, if we could do something with something like a VAWS and do it starting with entrepreneur visa, hey, well, why don't we create a better interface, and perhaps that will actually, elevate or improve the number of people who are interested in Taiwan a little more. That's the first step, at least. So I wrote up a proposal a year ago, and I started spreading it around. I knew that I had to get government involved in some aspect of it, and I
had to in what way, to collaborate with them?
Collaborate with them, receive some guidance.
Okay.
I wanted to also scope out what exactly what the government arena was like here.
I see.
Where everyone stood on these issues, where they stood, where people, individual legislators, or even government agencies, how do they view internationalization? Because we hear about it so much in the news. We hear about 国际化, and the importance of it. But I was always very curious about where was the actual execution.
What concrete steps were they taking?
What concrete steps? And from my experiences, I do know that there are forces at work. The gears of government are slow and cumbersome, but there are a lot of good people at work in there, and they have to work according to what they can do in their roles. And that's what I learned in our process. So over the course of the year, we reached out to legislators. We've had legislators on both sides of the aisle because we have made a very important goals to say that this has to be non-political.
Right,
bipartisan, nonpartisan even. We're only focusing on the future of Taiwan because all these politics we think is ultimately destructive. And I think there is a bigger and better future that we all can see for Taiwan. But we just have to get there first.
Right. Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because Taiwan is also very diverse already. You have so many diverse cultures already here. It's the history of itself. The history of Taiwan is also very diverse. It has a history of colonialism, but that also caused it to be very diverse. And I think that is actually our strength. We have a foundation for this. And this is where it comes to being, how do we redefine what Taiwanese is? Can we say that, hey, look, I have friends here who were born here, but maybe their parents weren't Taiwanese, holding a Taiwanese ID, but they're in this weird limbo state of not being a person of any country sometimes, and that doesn't make sense. And especially if Taiwan keeps talking about internationalization, you have to stop looking overseas. You have to start looking at people already here.
Right.
Because these are our existing resources. And this is what we keep telling the government agencies as we keep trying to spread the word. Actually, there's so much people here. There's so much passion and goodwill for Taiwan already here. And there's people here who invested 10, 20, 30 years of their lives already. A lot of foreign entrepreneurs here who are employing 30, 40, 50 people and Taiwanese employees here. You need to integrate these people. And you need to give them a pathway to use their soft power to influence their network and draw more people here and cast more of a spotlight on Taiwan.
Right. Or even so, you get people here, you want to make sure that they're welcomed.
Exactly.
Right? The point isn't just to get them here, it's to integrate them into society, I guess.
Totally. If you're not making people feel welcome here, that actually has a negative effect.
Right.
Because the people here who come here with all good intentions and good heart, and they come here and they constantly feel like they're being treated as second-class citizens, at least according to some policies, and that will bring a bad image for them, because I know a lot of foreigners who give up. They're just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be jumping through all these hoops. I'm just going to leave, and I'm not going to recommend Taiwan to anybody when I go back because it's just too hard here.
Right.
Although there's a lot of things in Taiwan that's great. So we've been pushing, hey, let's try to first integrate the people who are already here and use them as a resource for global outreach, because these are people who understand your target audience. Last year, we also were very nicely commissioned by the National Development Council, Guofahui, to provide recommendations. It was through a public bidding process, but to provide recommendations on how to give improvements on their Contact Taiwan website. It's the official global outreach website employed by the Taiwan government. It's run by the Ministry of Economic Affairs. But, we provided a 60-page report, and we provided not just user, recommendations on user interface and making a user experience, but also, who targeting to your, who your audiences are. But ultimately, our end result conclusion was you need a team who understands your audience.
Right. You
integrate the people who understand your audience instead of trying your very best to do it on your own. So that's kind of our mission right now.
Okay. Yeah. So have you begun taking steps integrating people and I guess building a network to help people who do come next?
Yes. So with the beta version right now, we started with the entrepreneur visa process. We have that tool down. But the second part of it, which we actually learned from our studies, is that when foreigners come here, they also feel that there's a lack of information. Who can they reach out to for help? Whether it be to set up their companies, just navigate and help them open bank accounts, find out educational resources, or however, what does Taiwan have to offer for them to help them guide through with the soft landing process? So these parts already all exist. There just right now there isn't one single window for everybody to get access to these. So we're saying, hey, everybody in Taiwan is doing all these disparate parts. Can we create a window which crosses languages? Hey, maybe I'm a Taiwanese organization that has also been dealing with counseling, but maybe they all have some English-speaking staff, but their marketing materials are all in Chinese. Come on a Crossroads, get your stuff translated to English, to Spanish, to Japanese, however, and reach out to these audiences. And let everyone know what you're doing.
Yeah, and give people a place to go and find this information, right? Because I feel like a lot of these things, you can just Google it, I'm sure, and then maybe something will pop up, hopefully. But there's no one place to be like, okay, I want to get to know Taiwan, get to know what kind of services are on hand for people like me. And or for people like foreigners, and in a foreign country. So is that like one, I guess, aspect of like what you're trying to provide?
Yes.
A place where people can go for kind of just everything from A to B, all the nuts and bolts.
A to B, whether it be for individuals or businesses. We are also
interesting, individuals and businesses. How would you, I guess, helping them start a business, or are you talking about businesses looking to provide services to foreigners? Is this going to be Okay.
We are actually working with a San Francisco-based company right now. They are actually seeking to set up shop in Taiwan.
I see.
And these are the case studies that we're looking at right now. Is there is interest in Taiwan, and we always like to try to tell Taiwanese people, look, The only people who 最看不起台湾是台湾人。
Yeah,
You
they have
know,
a very low
there's-
view of themselves, it seems. Yeah.
Yes, but there is interest, and there is a San Francisco-based gaming company. They're looking to set up a branch in Taiwan because they like the rule of law here. It's stable. They don't want to go to China because they're just afraid that their stuff is just going to get taken. There are incentives to come here. They're planning on coming here as hiring 30 Taiwanese employees, but they don't have all the ground know-how to do that here. They still need people to guide them through the bureaucracy, to help them set bank accounts, to help them find office space. We want to provide a window where you can get all that stuff done because all these services already exist. If you can create a streamlined service for this that just patches in all these parts that already exist,
I see.
then hey,
So kind of like the middleman, or I guess the marketplace.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. But we're basically a platform that also shows everybody, okay, this is what everyone's doing. We're not just actually talking about inbound as well. We're also talking about outbound. In our conversations with the government, there is definitely a big interest, of course, in Silicon Valley. A lot of Taiwanese companies are looking for investors in Silicon Valley. But the biggest problem, again, comes back to the whole issue of communication, how to do a pitch, how to present.
Right.
There are different ideas and cultural and language issues involved in this. We happen to know a lot of people here in Taiwan who actually do pitch presentations, who actually have a very impressive background, and who are just starting their consultancy businesses. And hey, but they also have problems probably speaking in Chinese. Where'll be that link?
Right.
Connect it. You can go on our website and you can also take a look. What are people doing? What consulting services or consultants I can actually offer, to patch into? What are their rates? And what is their achievements? What are their accomplishments? This, of course, will come down into our later versions. But this is kind of all ties into a bigger picture about how we want to just create inbound and outbound.
Okay. Yeah. So you say the later versions. Tell me about the phases that you have. So on your website, you have a current phase all the way up to phase 5.
Yes.
How do you see yourself progressing through these phases in the coming months, years?
Right. So ultimately it depends on how we continue to grow from here. And it's kind of been interesting even from our current phase, the beta phase. I do like to tell our team that ultimately what we're doing is not just a platform. We are actually doing, and I like to use the grand term, an initiative. And initiative doesn't just finish as a platform, but also deals with how we position ourselves. With Crossroads, we've been realizing that, we are at this interesting part where we can play a almost third-party role between government and business, where there is government interest, and we can help government in any capacity as we can. We're not asking money from them, but we do believe in a lot of efforts, what they're trying to do. And if there's anything we can help with internationalization efforts, we can be that role. But also for businesses, if people have an interest in interacting with government or interesting in interacting with other businesses in Taiwan, we can also play that bridge. Basically, we are a nerve center, hopefully. So after this beta phase, we do have several projects that we have lined up, which I shall not name today, but we will see how those proceed. And as we're doing this, we definitely have our phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, and actually it should keep going on. But how we also want to do is really actually focusing on, we're going to be having our membership system up soon. That's actually comes with phase 2. We're preparing that actually right now. So that
what is a membership system?
Basically, individuals and businesses can open their own accounts for free. These are free accounts. But basically, through an account, they can publish materials. They can choose distribution avenues through media. Actually, would like to talk to you about this later.
Okay.
And also being able to localize their materials as well. But a bevy of services. What do you need as a business? What do you need as an individual to very easily streamline these services to connect to either setting up your business or growing your business or promoting your business, or as an individual, maybe you need regular resources throughout daily life. How do you get in contact with these What do you know what's around you? Because, again, language is really the biggest barrier, I think, here.
Yeah. Okay. Language and, I guess, knowledge of what's where and everything.
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. Has your political background helped you in this endeavor?
Its political background has definitely... It makes me more, I guess I understand the pains and the idealism behind politics. I sympathize. I know with politicians, their tends to come with negative connotations. And not to say that it's all positive either.
Right.
But at the very least, I can understand the way the game is played a little bit better.
Yeah.
And to be able to understand that game knows where everybody stands behind all the... And there is a lot of grandstanding, and there is also acting. But ultimately, it helps with knowing where people really truly stand on certain issues, and how we can help. And that's ultimately what we want to do.
Okay, very cool. Well, I hope you all the best. Is there anything you want to talk about that I didn't touch on?
Not really.
Anything about the services that you provide, or etc.
Well, we are, since right now we are in our beta phase, we're also testing and developing, and we're totally doing this for free right now. But ultimately, once we have the membership system, we will, if people need translation and localization, that will probably cost a little money, not much. But for now, since we are in this expansion phase, we are also starting some rounds of fundraising. We actually employed the great support of a master sculptor called, his name is Master Lychee Man, Li Ziwen. So with any donations up to a certain amount, we also send a beautiful sculpture that actually will increase in value. His name is actually, his reputation is also through China and Hong Kong and Macau and Taiwan. So if anyone is interested, well, we'll definitely, that's part of our fundraising for now.
Okay. How can people give you money?
Right now, we're setting up that system. But for now, we can just send us an email.
Yeah, straight cash.
Straight cash. just send us a hongbao.
I know, yeah. Hongbao are welcome. Yeah.
No,
okay.
But so far, we're still setting up that system. But for now, maybe through PayPal or something. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll just fund you guys online, right? Just Crossroads.
Yes.
Yeah, Crossroads Beta. Okay. Very cool. Thanks, Dave, for coming on.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for having us.
That's it for this week's Taiwan Talk. A big thank you to David for coming on the show to speak with me. Thank you to Justin for making the connection. And thank you for listening. As always, if you've enjoyed the podcast, check out the previous episodes. And if you have any questions and comments, email me at alex.icrt.com.tw. That's ALEX@icrt.com.tw. I'm Alex Lewis. See you again next week.